And we're live again. Welcome to this live event, walk-in, presenting the Ichicraft boards today on the 14th of May. I'll be taking you through a small presentation of why we built the tool and the history behind Ichicraft as a company. Ichicraft looks to offer the ultimate employee experience by building a unified personal digital workplace, something that you see on the left-hand side here, inside Teams and also on mobile phone. For today, we'll go through a little agenda, and this is the EMEA walk-in, and I'm very happy to share with you that we have a good representation across EMEA of people from north to south. Actually participating in this live event. I'm very happy to see that. We'll walk through the history of Ichicraft. We'll look at the evolution of the digital workplace, where we stand today, and what we believe we add in this digital workplace. Challenges for the users that still remain. Then we'll be introducing Ichicraft Boards and demoing it as well. And as announced on LinkedIn and other places, we'll do a sneak preview of the universal app launcher today as well. But we'll follow up that story next month in more elaborate webinars. But let's get started. The history of Ichicraft is one that dates back no more than 3 years. As a company, we were hired by the Rabobank, international Dutch bank, to actually infuse some more employee engagement into their intranet. They were just moving into SharePoint Online in the cloud, and they thought that the engagement was quite low with their current intranet, and we were tasked with the challenge to find ways in which that could become more engaging, more relevant, more personal to people. And much of what we have today was actually thought out in design sprints at the Rabobank back then. A year later, a product was launched for the bank called Ichicraft Widgets, delivering on that challenge to create a better employee experience than inside SharePoint. Soon after, it was decided that we could, as a company, offer this product independently. So early 2020, the Ichicraft Widgets became available as a standalone product, being further developed, a roadmap shared with the Rabobank, but also with other clients, and other clients giving input to further development of the Ichicraft Widgets. Now, early this year, we're looking to expand our footprint across Europe, across the world. As you could just see in that little map, that's exactly what we're doing. And we also are looking to benefit from the wave of Microsoft Viva products, employee experience platform, as Microsoft offers it. And today we very much present the product inside Teams, no longer just inside SharePoint, although it still works there. And we're expanding our partner network internationally to get this product in the hands of more people around the world. If we look at the evolution of the digital workplace, and we're all celebrating 20 years of SharePoint quite recently, then we can look back at several phases in creating value for the employee. It all started out with portals, bringing together hyperlinks in one place to go to different web pages, and to have that on inside our companies as well, as we saw it on the internet before that time. This soon led to intranets that are bringing in files and news, and then also they brought in the need to customize those places. So we went into quite heavily customizing SharePoint, then Classic. These custom intranets, they led to Internet in a Box solutions as we know them today, as they're sold by a great number of vendors. At the same time, we saw this emergence of the social internet. Again, searching for employee value, but also looking at engagement as one of the main KPIs. We looked in envy to things like Facebook, and hoped by introducing the social internet, we could create that kind of engagement inside the company, inside intranets as well, inside that digital workplace. But I think that we've entered a new phase, and in that phase, the phase of employee experience, many companies have moved into the cloud, finding a full stack of Microsoft 365 products, finding SaaS products, and that phase of sort of going from version to version, that's a bit over. We're seeing new features coming out daily, every week, monthly, and the challenge is more to keep up with that. And in that, the challenge is also to create a better employee experience, because it's not the tools themselves that are the barrier. We have more than enough technology around. And I think that's also the distinction that we see now. A lot of what we did the past 20 years was very technology driven. As new features came out, we adopted users on those features, we upgraded, we migrated. But now, sort of the final migration is being done into the cloud, where things go into the hands of the likes of Microsoft, where they upgrade and change that all of the time. And we don't have to worry about that anymore. What we should be worried about more and more is the user, and be more user driven. And all of those persona analysis and days in the life of that we've made in the past years, we should start implementing those, because this is really that period, the period of employee experience. Another way to look at it is that in that whole digital workplace, if we look at the intranet as the starting point of the day, that never really came true. I mean, the internet is just a place you can potentially visit. It's one of the many apps and tools inside the digital workplace. Where we need to look today with users is where they work, to meet them where they work. Now, in the Microsoft ecosystem, that has been more or less decided for us, of course, Microsoft Teams, and the pandemic helped along in that story. But that's actually where we set off on that journey a bit more than 2 years ago, finding that true employee experience and value where people work. As said, where people work is in teams, and of course they work digital, they work remote, and we've all witnessed this explosion of using all these digital tools entering into the pandemic. I think the most important thing I take out of this is that now everybody, from the blue collar worker up to the C-level people, they are all experiencing the maturity of their digital workplace. So now everybody's thrown back to use their computers and to work remotely. Now everybody can see how good that digital workplace is or not. And I think, like I said, with C-suite or managers, that makes things move. And we've seen, of course, huge investments in technology and uptake, as well as everybody's now more or less in the same situation. What is that situation? And what are those challenges that we see and that we also believe we can solve with Ichicraft Boards? One of those challenges is that people have many apps, but they also need many apps to get the full picture. Moving from their Outlook to their CRM, to their Teams, to their task list, and all of those things are needed to get the full picture. All of those apps look and behave different. So we have the early adopters that are, quick to pick up on new technology and could put things to work their way. But for most people, it is a challenge. All people, also including me and you probably as well, have to think many times per day where to look for something. Where was that file stored? And actually entering into things like Microsoft Teams, at first, it's a great asset in collaboration with other people, and we're grateful that we can do and connect with other people. But it's just also created another repository for chats where information resides, files in different teams, but it can still be in SharePoint, it can be on shared drives, it can be as attachments, as I said. So, you often have to think where to look for information. Once you arrive at that location, it's practically impossible to adapt that application or the digital workplace as a whole to how you work, how you like to organize things, or in which order you would like to see things, or which things you'd like to be notified of or not. You just have to go from app to app to app to app. And that's actually what we do throughout the day. We switch apps 6 to 10 times per hour. And in all of that switching, what we also do is a thing called context switching. So we move into the different application, and we need 30 seconds here, a minute there, 2 minutes there, to switch from app to app to app, and that accumulates throughout the day. So up to an hour is lost, and our lives are very digital today. So it's quite likely that it accumulates. Time is lost in switching all of these applications. Companies would, of course, like to solve that problem for their users, but they have some challenges of their own. How do you target applications and information? I mean, there are some ways to do that. For instance, within SharePoint, there's a couple of web parts that allow audience targeting. But how do you target different line of business applications like CRM or ERP or news coming from a website from another source? So there's a huge challenge in getting that to the right personas. We might have done that persona analysis, but we have no way to sort of convey that, to bring that to those people specifically. So we look to integrate. We look to integrate things into a unified digital workplace, but that generally is quite complex. Every backend system has its own needs, and simply saying that it has an API is not enough to guarantee that it can be integrated in one place. And if there is, integration possible, what would that one place be? Is that Outlook? Is that on SharePoint? Is that in Teams? So a lot of choices there and a lot of complexity. If we would then allow our users to customize things, make choices on their own, as many users like to do, that is also quite complex and then comes at a very high price. So it's been attempted, done, investments have been made that people could choose their own channels or choose their own whatever in their digital workplace, but allowing people choices comes at a price, and we see more of the opposite happening as people move into the cloud. They sort of accept we just have to deal with plain vanilla, how Microsoft thinks we need to do things. That's how we have to adopt our users onto those tools and not the other way around. And as such, it is still impossible as a company to offer that single interface that users would like to have to their digital workplace. So those users, those employees keep checking different feeds, different places. And many of us are actually what is called constant checkers. And those constant checkers are experiencing higher stress levels. It's not only the meetings that we sit in all day, every day, back to back, but it's also all the different places, digital places that we have to check to see what's going on in our workday. What do I have to be aware of? If we would then think that the internet is the solution to this, research shows that more than half of the workforce never really interacts with the internet. So it's often seen as what it's known for, bringing news to people. That news is not always very relevant to now or to this workday. So the internet is often seen as a place that they visit a couple of times a week, once a week, to catch up on news. Then we look for this one killer app, maybe the pay slips, to download them there. But it's not the center of the digital workplace. That's clear. We believe we create that center to that digital workplace, solving these issues with our Ichicraft boards. Ichicraft boards are an employee experience solution on top of the employee experience platform, as Microsoft offers it, which you can get personal wherever you work. So we have our own Teams app, and of course, when Viva Connections came, we embedded the solution there. We still work across SharePoint in vertical, horizontal sections, and we also look great on mobile phones because we're responsive by design. So if we take that a step back to that, bring the employee value and the history of the digital workplace, what we offer with this solution is a truly personal digital workplace. It's unified in one place, personal to the person looking at it, because we can target that at personas, but people can also change the board to their liking. We as a company can make it relevant, but the users themselves can make it further relevant, and I'll show you that in the demo as well. One of the founding principles of the Ichicraft boards and the widgets inside is that they need to be actionable as well. You need to be able to do 60–70% of what you need to do in the underlying applications through our widgets directly on the board. We're also meeting the company's needs, and we do that by being compliant, almost by design, again, being born out of a bank. But we leave all the data inside the Microsoft 365 tenant. we tailor the boards to personas. So you can use the audience targeting mechanisms inside Microsoft 365, inside Azure AD, security groups, Microsoft groups, to target boards, widgets, and content to the users. We're also API first, so we make use of the Microsoft Graph a lot, and as such have a very small footprint inside the tenant. And we're also extensible by design. So we offer templates to create widgets, and our partners and customers, they actually do that quite extensively. So that brings us to the demo of the Ichicraft boards. And in that demo, I was going to show a sneak preview of something called the App Launcher, and we're referring to it as the Universal App Launcher. Now, Ichicraft already had an App Launcher, but we've put that App Launcher on steroids by partnering with a Dutch company called Liquid. And what Liquid offers is that users can launch every application on every platform, and it's accessible to every user inside the organization. And I said this takes our own app launcher, which was already able to launch Citrix virtual apps and Windows virtual apps to a next level. It creates an app launcher which is truly universal and can launch any type of application, either locally installed, SaaS, and any type of virtualization. Because under that platform that Liquid offers is actually something which is truly universal. So you can come in with any type of identity. You can bring in any type of device, mobile or on a desktop, and then launch applications in any type of backend. So both on that desktop, but also somewhere virtualized. And that virtualization technology can be either Citrix, VMware, Windows Virtual Machine. And I've put SaaS there as well. So by adding this to our app launcher, you can use it without, but by adding this, you can really launch any type of application and make that Ichicraft board, truly actionable and really your starting point for the day. Now, without further ado, let's go into a bit of a demo of this. And here we're seeing the Ichicraft boards inside Microsoft Teams. And here our user is John, and John is greeted, and John has a few notifications sitting at the top here. For the rest, John has a board with different widgets that you can see down here. All of these widgets are interacting with different backend systems, and one of the main backend systems is the Microsoft Graph. That is where actually all of these notifications come from. John can go in and interact with, for instance, tasks here and tick off a task, and you saw the notifications here changing. So everything's done on live data. He can also add tasks like hosting a webinar directly in this board and stay here. Beyond the Microsoft To Do task, he will also find planner tasks that he can work on, add and tick off. If we look at the rest of the board is full of different widgets, and you can actually change these widgets to your liking, like this. You can also resize them to your liking. Oh, like this. Did take it. Oh, there we go. But we also have a concept of lock widgets, and that's actually what's showing up here with the little lock. So John cannot move that widget around. He can, though, through some of the settings, change the contents of the widget. Now, this widget is showing us news, in this case, news from SharePoint. And as said, everything's actionable from inside the environment. You can open up the SharePoint page and interact with the SharePoint page and close it down. And John remains in the same page inside his Microsoft Teams. But John can change the source of this company news. So he can go in and he finds a couple of essential sites. He finds a couple of optional sites, favorited sites in this case. Now, these essential sites have been targeted to him by the administrator. And this targeting can be done through the use of audience, through targeting groups. So these essential sites are, let's say that John is in HR. These are essential for HR. But sales can have other essential sites, or finance can have other essential sites, all determined by the admin. But this is something that he can further personalize to his needs. He can decide to unfollow the news from a particular site. He can also go in and add other sites. So within his organization, he should be able to find a site like our organization and add that to his feed. And then his feeds start changing and populating with different news. Now, this widget cannot be moved. The others can be moved, but most of these widgets, of course, can be configured. Just like the Power BI widget that we have down here. It shows John some of his essential reports. He can go in, and these are all interactive, where they stand. He can sort of zoom in on these different reports. He can, again, through the same way, configure what he's looking at. And again, these reports are targeted to him by audience. So this is relevant to him in HR. He can go in and change the order of these reports. He can start adding other titles, other reports that have also been targeted to him. You can go in and add maybe the discount save, total invoicing, add these tiles and put the total invoicing at the top because that's the first one he'd like to see. So all of this can be made relevant to John. But here, John has a fully populated board. Let's go from here into a quick demo of the app launcher. The app launcher is something that we see down here, and this here is launching the apps as we see them, the default app launcher. But as I said, I'm going to do a sneak preview of the universal app launcher. So I'll open up another board, which always access to a board called My Apps, and here we see again the app launcher as we know it, and then the app launcher as Liquid offers it to us. Now, these app launchers, again, you can go in and you can start configuring things. So you can say, this is the most important application that I have, and I put that at the top. From those apps that I've been provisioned, I can bring other apps in that I'd like to launch from here and do that in a certain order. I can go out and save those things. As I said, these applications can now basically be anything and be anywhere. So I can go in and, for instance, launch Excel. This is actually the desktop application that I have on my Windows 10 machine, and it's allowing me to open up those kind of experience. I close it down, go back in, simple things like calculator, and now I don't have a full backend with virtualized technology here, so I cannot show you that. But all of these things can be Citrix applications, it can be VMware, it can be Windows Virtual Desktop, and all launched from right in here. What you can see as well, which is another aspect of these widgets, is that you can, instead of having a general app launcher, you can isolate apps into separate instances of the app launcher and call them HR apps, sales apps, further allowing that level of personalization and targeting to the different users. So I hope you can see that behind this is actually a whole stack of technology, which makes it completely seamless for users to launch these applications without having to think where exactly, which device they're on, or if they're inside the firewall, outside. Full SSO is supported in this, so they don't need to log in again. And it looks very simple, but it's extremely powerful from right here. Let's take a step back to the full board. And as said, here John has that full experience. But I'd like to show you the onboarding experience that John has. So I'll just reset the board quickly here. And this is the first greeting that any new employee would get or after introducing the tool. Now, like I said, we use audience targeting very extensively, and that's something you see down here as well. Now, if John is part of the HR team, we can push him the HR board, but we can also allow people in the organization a choice. Maybe they'd like to have this type of board set up as their starting point for the sales team, or maybe this one for HR. Now, let's go with HR and see what John gets from the start. John gets a bit of an introduction, how to add widgets, how to move widgets, as we saw, how to resize them, the concept of the locked widget, as we saw at the top, and an administrator can nominate any widget that is in use as a locked widget on different locations on the board. So this can be used for multiple things than just the news. There's a way to configure them, which we already saw, and then there's more options through which you can delete a widget on the board. You also saw the additional boards that we use for launching the different apps in this case, but we can use that for other use cases as well. It basically creates more screen real estate for John inside this experience. Now, John has this board as a starting board, but he might want to start organizing things. Let's say that he doesn't want to open his Outlook anymore and wants to collect all of the things that are essential in Outlook up here. We'll start changing things, make this a little bit bigger, maybe this app launcher a bit smaller. And as you see, these widgets actually change their optimal view with the size that they get inside the board. But let's continue. Let's put tasks there. Let's put save for later here. You can see that if you hover over the different elements on the board, there's a fold-out, and in that fold, it's the essential information. Here, a bit of the email that was received, some quick actions that you can take, but you can also break out to the full experience. That can also be done by clicking the title. Same goes for the meetings. You can hover over a meeting. You can join the Teams meeting from right here. We're inside Teams. I have my calendar open. Why not join from here? Why not open a file that's attached to this meeting? If I need to do more advanced things, of course, I can break out in the full experience. And same goes for tasks, which I already showed you. But let's go ahead and add some other widgets to the mix. Now, there is some news from the company. Maybe John wants to see some news from his industry or something else. So we can open up widgets. Again, these widgets can be targeted. Here we see all the possible widgets because it's a demo environment, but this can be limited. This can also be categorized, and companies can decide what kind of categories they want to offer their users. Now, John wanted to have some other news, some external news on his board, so he can go out and add that external news. Again, this widget also sizes with the needs, with the space that it gets inside the board. Similar to what John is already introduced to, he can add other feeds. So you can go out and say, okay, I'd like to have this and this and this because this is relevant to my, to my job, or has my interest. Maybe I'm an enthusiast of Formula One, as what we can see here. These widgets are very actionable from where they sit. And one web part or one widget that shows that really well is the people search. I can go in, I can see presence of my my colleagues here. I can go out and see the card and look and see maybe to send an email to Mark here or start a chat right from here. Why not? We're inside Microsoft Teams. But we can fold that and then see basically the full richness of what the Microsoft Graph brings in. Emails I've exchanged with Mark, skills and experience that he has, his contact details, all of that goodness comes through right in here without having to leave that experience. I can go in and have some quick filters, like maybe find people in the sales department right here, and then go out and contact them. Now, all of this is inside Microsoft Teams, and it's also inside Viva Connections. And Viva Connections actually gives us a few great assets. One asset is that we get this navigation of the site, the underlying SharePoint site in here. So we can go out and go to the benefits page. We get some handy little icons here to refresh the page or to like it. And again, if I like this benefits page, it starts rolling up in my little news widget. So very practical there. I can go out, of course, and open up the Connections app and find some of this information which is serviced by Microsoft. But I can go back to my home, and in this home, I've set up that board to be my landing page, my starting page, basically. Another thing that Connections brings is that the search is unified. So I can go out, not only search Teams down here and Teams apps, but I can also search inside that inside Viva Connections, or actually inside SharePoint right here, and it will bring me the SharePoint search page. I won't do that at this time. Another great thing that actually Fever Connections offers us is in that app launcher. So I have already showed you that, by adding Liquid, we can do additional things. But out of the box, we can do another little neat trick that I'd like to show you. John can go in and change the apps that he sees. He can change the order and those things. He can also add apps. Now, a lot of people, of course, are inside Microsoft Teams, and they can certainly use some help here and there to use this application. So he can go in and add this Microsoft Teams help and save that out. You can see that the app launcher maybe needs a bit more space, so we can organize it like that. Now, these are different applications, but here we have this Microsoft Teams help, and that's actually a Microsoft Teams application. Well, if I go in there, it will open up the Microsoft Teams application. And again, this really contributes to having the Ichicraft boards as that starting point, because as we start seeing more experiences in Microsoft Teams, of course, people will have the challenge of finding the right applications and launching them. Now here, this is a simple application basically showing me the help of Microsoft Teams and training and so on. This is something that comes out of the box. But the important message here is that through that app launcher, we're really looking at launching any type of virtualized application, SaaS app, desktop app, but now also Teams apps, making it truly universal. With that, I'd like to conclude the presentation, and thank you for your attendance. If you have anything to ask, please leave that in the Q&A inside the live event. I'll follow up after the time's up to see what kind of questions you might have raised. I'd like to draw your attention to the next meeting. It's actually not a walk-in, but I'll be offering the floor to our partner Engage, to Espen Ritter, to talk about measuring the digital employee experience, actually measuring the employee NPS score, as it's called, because you cannot really improve what you don't measure correctly. And we think that on all the improvements in digital experience, it's really good to know where you stand today to see how to move forward, either out of the box or with a tool like Ichicraft Boards. I can also encourage you to download a trial, and in the chat you will find some other resources like the slides and a bit of background about the extensibility story. For now, I'd like to thank you for your time and for your attention. I hope you enjoyed it, and please reach out to me if you want to continue the conversation. Thank you very much.